everybody. Welcome in tonight. This is a wonderful, wonderful evening. I'm so glad you guys are here. I have a fantastic show lined up for us tonight. I have remote viewed something that is a super hot topic at the moment. And I have my friend Barry Littleton here with me to discuss this. We have looked into the mummified alien remains, or the alleged mummified alien remains that were put on display at a congressional hearing in Mexico this week. This is going to be a very interesting show. I have hit 3 targets with this, and let's just say they're just interesting to say the least. Okay, the data it's almost kind of contradictory a little bit, and so we're going to go over all of this tonight. And just remember, you guys, it's remote viewing data. I don't have all the answers. Okay, I never do, and this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, and so I don't want to ruffle any feathers with anybody or any organizations or any people. Okay, this is all for this is just really for fun, and I'm having a great time doing these remote viewing targets for you guys. So yeah, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and things I'm doing, I do have a website. That's the cryptidhuntress.com, and all of my shows are posted there, and all the events I'll be at, and all my social media links. And that's a great way to get in touch with me if you guys have messages. And I do see your messages. Okay. And I'm working on getting back to everybody that's been messaging me lately. Okay. Okay. And let's see. I have Barry Littleton here. So I want to go ahead and bring Barry up. We have so much to talk about today. Barry is an amazing researcher. He's a good friend of mine. He has a fantastic YouTube channel and a wonderful Patreon. I can't say enough good things about Barry Littleton. He's going to be speaking at a big old conference in Vegas coming up here in the next month or so. So he's going to have to tell you guys about that probably towards the end of the show today. But please help me welcome to the show tonight my friend Barry Littleton.
Hey, Jessica, what's happening?
Hey, Barry. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me again, and hello to your audience and everyone. And hope everybody's in good health and doing well. These are interesting times we're living in, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. You're telling me. Okay. The girl who talks about cryptids all day. Yes. It's a very, very interesting time. And now we have the Mexican government rolling out 2 bodies of what they claim to be aliens, extraterrestrials that were found in Peru, which you and I have done plenty of shows on Peru and the high strangeness there in Nazca with the face peelers and the CME Peru. All sorts of interesting things, from giants to holographic mountains to strange anomalies that float down the mountains, and
to redhead giants to Gladys Cordova's spot out there too. That's right. Yeah. She's got a really hot spot out there. So man.
She does. Well, apparently there's been a couple of aliens unearthed in Peru, and it was back in 2017. And I'm going to read this little overview of what the target's about and what the show's going to be about tonight. Okay, so this week, 2 small non-human beings were presented to the public at Mexico's first public congressional hearing on UAPs, and also known as UFOs. I call them UFOs still. The little bodies were said to be found deep underground in the Peruvian coastal desert of Nazca in 2017. The Nazca Lines are a series of geometrical shapes and animal figures etched into the sand of the Nazca Desert south of Lima, and many say the area was a landing site for extraterrestrial spacecrafts. Scientists at this hearing claimed that the bodies have been tested and DNA shows they are non-human beings. So are these non-human bodies authentic, organic, potentially extraterrestrial beings? Or Barry, could this be a hoax? What do you think?
Well, the thing is that what I had heard, and I haven't seen any real research, any real science that was presented with, the Mexico Congress. And they said that 30% of the DNA was non-human. So is that the mitochondrial DNA? Is it the nuclear DNA? We're not getting information on that. At least I couldn't find it. And I'll just say this number 2, all right, is amongst the other things that reportedly happened, is such as there was oscillium and these rare metals found in the bodies And in one of the bodies, there's these deposit eggs, these egg deposits. And, you know, that, and the gentleman that was presenting that, I think his name is Jamie, like Masson or something like that. I wrote it down, Maussan. I mean, I'm just saying he's been like connected to hoaxes. That's the main way that, of course, that's the main way that counterintelligence, though, discredits things. So I don't want to seem like I'm just buying into everything. But by the same token, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are the eggs that you're talking about. I have a picture up on the screen, and they do look like eggs, which is very interesting. That it doesn't look like they're not supposed to fit in that little tiny body, though. They're so big. But yeah, I didn't watch the hearings, so I'm not super familiar with this. I just have read some articles now, and I've been hearing about these. But okay, so that gentleman that you're referring to, I am pretty sure that's the same man that I've seen on a lot of UFO shows. And I always felt, okay, and I hope nobody gets mad at me for saying this. I'm just speaking my truth. Anytime I'd see that man, I would turn the channel because I felt like there was deception whenever he would be on there. So that's why when I saw that he was actually part of the rollout of these aliens, I wasn't so sure what to think about this. And then come to find out I have these targets or a target that was these aliens, and he's involved in this. Okay. So I really don't know what to think about it now, because now that I've done 3 separate targets, I see who's kind of behind it. And I spoke to someone who may or may not have a little information on some of this stuff. And now my brain is all over the place today. And so I know this is Wildberry, because this is one of those targets where I got data on this. Okay. I got a lot of data on these bodies, but my gut's telling me there's something wrong with it. Okay. My gut's telling me it's so I'm getting like contradictory data, and I'm not getting, if you notice, all of my data for those 3 targets only have 1 page. Okay, so I wasn't getting like a ton of data. Now that's very unusual, right, Barry? Did you notice that?
Yeah. You know, first of all, let me just say I think it's really cool that you openly say that and don't act like you have all the answers or any of that. And, you know, there's so much, we live in such a blasted, concocted world, especially concerning anything paranormal, metaphysical, cryptids, whatever word you want to use. It's all so concocted that it's unreal. And the amount of deception that we have is so high. So, you know, you had just mentioned that you had got some information that makes you even question it more. What was that information, Jones? Come on, spill it. Spill the beans.
Okay, so the fact that, first of all, I was hitting those targets yesterday. I wasn't getting a ton of data, and you know that's always a red flag. Okay, and remote viewing is not always 100%. You know, we're just getting data. We're hitting these blind targets. We're getting some data. And that's that. Okay. And usually I have plenty of data to do a show on these things that we're looking into, that you give me these targets, and we make a great show out of it, just exploring the possibilities and whatever data. And a lot of times we're uncovering things that, you know, it could be like hidden facts about these cryptids and events, you know, who knows? It's just fun to talk about. Okay. Well, with this one, I knew that I wasn't getting a ton of data, and the data seemed a little contradictory on each target that I did. And we're going to get into that data in just a minute. But I made it a point to contact someone that I know, okay, who may or may not be in the know with some things. And you know, this is an anonymous person, and I just said, what do you think? Are these alleged aliens real? And the person's response was, most likely not. Okay, most likely not. Okay, and so maybe we should get into that conversation later. Okay, because I want to get into the data first, Barry. There's some method in my madness. Okay, I honestly don't know where I'm going with this, but in my mind, I think it'd be best.
You just kept me on this precipice. I was just about to go over the precipice, then you just stopped it. It's like going on a commercial or something. But that's all right. That's cool with the data. That's cool too.
Yes, because I want it.
I like where you're going with this, so I'm kind of just listening.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want it to play out the way it's played out in my life the past day, the past 24 hours. Okay, so I'm given these coordinates. I hit a target. Okay. Okay. So the first target was, it was actually the two bodies that were presented to the Mexican congressional hearing. Okay. At that hearing. And I have a picture of one. I thought I'd uploaded a picture of the two in the boxes. You know, they're each in a box, but it didn't upload apparently because I was digging through trying to find it here. But this is one of the bodies, okay? And I don't know. I mean, it could be a mummified alien body. I don't know. You know, I'm excited that I remote viewed it. I'm super excited about this. But there's a lot of chatter online right now. And I remember last night I was looking at all the chatter, and I had remote viewed this. I already hit these targets, and half the people are saying, "Oh, it's real," and it's literally like half and half. Half the people are saying, "Oh, it's a hoax and it's a fake," and those are chicken bones, okay, inside of it and stuff. And I was thinking, "Oh my God, what have I gotten myself into remote viewing this?" So listen, y'all.
Topic, so it's
a hot topic. So Barry, so we're going to do the best that we can today to like get this information out, because with my data combined with your knowledge, okay, you're the smart one here. I'm just the channel, okay, and we're gonna try to unpack this to make some sense out of all this, okay? Because it's, first of all, it's shocking that a government, not too shocking, that a government is unrolling this or out to the public. But I've seen an ET. You've seen ETs. We've both seen ETs firsthand, up close, firsthand knowledge of them. We've seen them with our own eyes. Okay. And this doesn't look like an alien I've seen personally, but doesn't mean it's not real by any means. My gosh, there's so many of them. But I want to believe, just like on, what is that show? The X-Files or something. It's like, I want to believe. Yeah. Right?
With Jonathan Frakes, yeah.
So I want to believe. Yeah. Okay. So the data is, and I'm going to just leave this picture up here because it's just in a perfect angle, but we're divided, me and you right here. Okay. So we're going to leave our buddy up here on the screen. So in the first target, I was getting, the first thing I heard was organic. Okay. And I wrote down the word organic. All right. So some of my sensory data, and by the way, if anyone would like to follow along or see all of my raw remote viewing data, it's on my Patreon, the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. There's a link in the description box. Okay. So I was seeing, or my sensory data was like something that was green, hard, circular. I mean, all this, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay. But walking, quiet, sliding, hiding, you know, things like that. I was picking up on some sensory. I was getting sensory data on this. But the first thing I heard was organic and ancient. I heard inner earth, a statue. Okay. So what I saw was, what I thought I was looking at was a statue. Something about a lost history, reset, amnesia. I picked up on amnesia, something that's hidden had a slow rollout. I wrote down something that was tiny, like I wrote down miniature, but I had written down inner earth, and I also wrote down Argatha or Agartha. Okay. So I got those, and I was picking up on mountains. Okay. So whatever I was looking at looked as though it was small. It was from inner earth, or it came from inner earth. I actually did write down extraterrestrial as well, but I was seeing something like a statue that had been buried somewhere. Okay. Is what I thought I was looking at. But it wasn't a whole lot of data there. Okay. Not a whole lot of data. And, yeah, so that was my first target. So that was it. What do you think about that, Barry?
Question. Did you know what Agartha was prior to this?
I had heard the word before, but I wasn't familiar with it because I asked you. I was like, I got Argatha or Agartha. I was like, what is that? And you're like, that's inner earth. And I was like, well, wow, because I had written down inner earth at the very top of the page, and at the bottom I said Argatha or Argatha.
You know, that part is very interesting, and where this fuses into that at with the inner earth thing. You know, I mean, it's very interesting because for me, my beliefs of the inner earth are slightly different when you really look at the science and how the inner earth is really structured. Okay. But there's something we have when we get away from the admiral bird and all these things. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but we have to deal with some of the science too. And we've got not as far down the deep biosphere, and the deep biosphere contains about 95% of Earth's undiscovered to humanity, undiscovered bacteria. And I think also fungi as well. And when we start dealing with organic craft and these beings that are dealing with organic and mycelium, we really have to look at how these organic craft deal with something like the biosphere. That is a perfect place for communication with a organic craft. So that part, and you saying that, you know, you got the inner earth, and also they were saying something I kept hearing when I tried to research this just a little bit. I mean, I didn't go deep on it, but I kept hearing this, that they said they were supposedly discovered in algae mines in Peru.
Algae mines, that's right.
Algae mines. That's what I find that very interesting. When dealing with algae and, you know, what I'm talking about there, deep biosphere and stuff like that, it's just interesting. I'm not saying that's the answer to this, but it's something I think we should factor into the equation, you know? And and anyway, so let's keep going.
Okay. So well I'm going to show some pictures, because they were showing slides of they had scientists there, okay, that claim to have studied these two little bodies, and and they showed x-rays of them, okay, and some of these x-rays include, I mean, here's like a full body x-ray of one of them, okay, which I don't know. It looks interesting. It looks like it's, I mean, my data said organic. I mean, that was like the first main thing that I wrote down, organic. This is the one that looks like it has eggs in it. I don't know what's on its arm.
What is the glowing object just below the thorax there?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I've got some close-ups. Let's see. We're gonna get some more views of it. It's rather odd, right? It almost looks like mixed matched bones to me, but I'm just putting that out there.
Interesting. Where are you seeing that at?
I don't know.
I think that's valid too. I think that's a valid observation, but keep going.
Well, the first thing that I noticed were the ribs, and I'm not saying it's not real or contrived, but I don't know. It just, I don't know.
I've never seen species from another dimension, so it's
that's true. Well, it might be
together, of course.
I mean, my data is kind of going in that direction. Like, this thing's real. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's its skull right there. Now, all right. Should we just go on to the next target? Let's just go into the next one. Let's go to the next one.
I'm just following with you.
Listen, this is going down a rabbit hole now, because it's like the data, when I'm reading it, it's like, it's not what my gut says. Okay. Now that I know what the target is, but I don't know. That's why I contacted my friend right before the show. Okay. Let's see the next one. What are the timestamps? I put timestamps on all my targets, so I know exactly which one, or like what the sequence and like which ones they are. And of course they're numbered because they're coordinates. The second one was the origin, like the area these things came from. Okay. What is their origin? Right. It was that one. So it's, wherever this was, there was an advanced civilization there. Okay. So I was, some of my data is like, there's a portal and a Stargate there. And this is the area, this is the origin where they came from. Okay. So this is Peru, right? Nazca. So a multitude of races of ETs. Okay. It's stuff that I wrote down in my data from off planet. There's time travel, Stargates, levitate. I wrote down the word levitation. But something was wiped out. Okay. And that was right up underneath the multitude of races wiped out, needed help, lost in time, dark age. The Earth is a laboratory. You've done a video on that, Barry. The Earth is a laboratory. That's just some of my data. I mean, that's my AOL too. So that's like, it's not my sensory data, but that's just some of the stuff that I had written down that I thought was pertinent to this. So it's coming from an area that is rich in extraterrestrial life in history. Okay. So here's my question though. Absolutely. Okay, Barry, why on earth, so if the data is saying these things are potentially, or they're organic, okay, if they're real, if they are actual extraterrestrials, but yet they, some people are saying they're not. What if they're not? What would be the point of like the government, like the Mexican government, allowing these people to come and present all this as though it's real and swearing under oath, by the way, that these are real organic aliens? Why would they have any reason to deceive, like to put fake ones out there?
Well, honestly, if depending on if it's organic, I mean, that means a lot of things. That leaves it very nebulous too. So they're claiming it's organic, and then there's this DNA, but none of us have seen these tests, like I said, that were supposedly presented to their Congress. We've seen these X-rays there, and like I have to agree with you, which looks somewhat questionable to me. A few things there.
Yes, there's some questionable stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, so that would be something. One is that they have actually organic bodies, and that they're making that claim. But what are these organic bodies? What are they really composed of? Like I said, I'd like to see that DNA.
Yeah, well, we got a target on that one, Barry. That last target, we got the composition of the bodies. That was the third target. Okay, so this is going to get juicy. Should we even start this one yet? We're only like 20 minutes into the show. Let's go ahead. Let's just talk about it. Okay. So this is where it got weird, like even more weird, right? So this is another target. So my data said grave robbers in it. Okay, really? Grave robbers. But I mean, if these things are real, so we can look at this two ways. If these things are real, then they were taken from the grave they were in, or like some of the claims that people are saying, that potentially maybe these are bodies of children that are kind of pieced together and made to look like a full alien. Is that totally out of the picture, you think? I mean, I'll finish my data though. Let's go ahead and finish the data. Okay, let's go through it all, because I did write down grave robbers. Grave robbers. Oh no, grave robber with an R. No S.
Right. This is getting juicy. All right, you're right.
It's getting juicy now. Okay. So my sensory data for this last target, okay, some of it, this is not all, but once again, I only got 1 page of data for this. Okay. And I only got 1 page of data for the second target and 1 page of data for the first, which is I didn't go past stage 3 on those because I wasn't getting a whole lot. I was really having a hard time pulling the data out. So, okay, so I got some of the same sensory data that I got on the other the other 2 targets, but it was like something that was hard and stiff and smooth and blinking and hidden and okay. Anyways, the sensory data is not as juicy as my AOL over here that I was getting. So I was picking up on decomposed organisms, bones, something that is controlled. I got the word rolled out again. That's the second time in all 3 of these targets I got the phrase rolled out. Roll out, pre-plan, knowledge, I was picking up on graphs for some reason. And this is on the composition of these bodies, right? Knowledge, graduated.
Graphs. You picked up graphs. Huh?
Graphs, yes.
As in like skin graphs or
maybe
party graphs.
I just wrote down graphs.
Oh, fascinating.
I never thought about that. It could be like skin grafts, totally. But I picked up control, mind control, and grave robber was the last bit of that bit of data there. So that threw a wrench in the engine. Okay, when it comes to these targets, I guess, because it seemed as though these could be like legit ETs potentially in that first target that I did. And then by the last target, I'm questioning it now when I'm analyzing the data. It's like, well, they're organic, but what kind of organic are they? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the question.
And
that's the question.
I'm gonna tell you what this brings to my mind immediately. All right. Now I'm gonna wind up. People gonna get mad at me for this because I don't want to talk about any of these demigods and these communities. There was something that was affiliated with Dr. Greer, And we all know when he does something negative or something negative comes out, it just disappears. But he had endorsed this little supposed alien that was gotten out of the desert.
Oh yeah.
And when they did the DNA on that, it turns out it was like some type of like several pieces of like different childs suffering from different illness put together. It was something like that. And then you just didn't hear about that thing anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It's not the first time I've heard about things like that. And you had posted something on Facebook too with the $1 Million Museum, right?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Would you like to talk about that? I have some pictures to pull up.
Oh, sure. You know, and I started talking about this in 2016, actually. There was excuse me, New Mexico, White Sands, I believe it is, a place that was called the $1 Million Museum. And inside of there, they had this display of what was supposed to be an alien body. And there it is. Yeah. And it was very interesting in terms of, I had read back then that they had done some DNA tests on it, and it had a large amount of it that was unknown. And, you know, but it was suspected to be a fetal child at first, kind of similar to the thing that we were just talking about. But then they said through the DNA that it wasn't provable. It was that part of it was unknown, I believe it was, but I can't find those tests anymore. But the entire $1 Million Museum itself is gone. It just disappeared. It went out of business or whatever. And all those exhibits, and that wasn't the only odd exhibit they had that just disappeared. You know, when my mother was still alive, she would talk about when she was a little girl, how they would go to the fairs and you would have actually these sideshows that would be like Barnum and Bailey type of freaks and stuff like that, what they called them in there and stuff like that. You know, some of the stuff that just all disappeared, you know, and so it's very interesting. You know, can't say for sure that was real, but it's something to look into. And it's sometimes counterintelligence, the best way to trick people is to put something in plain sight. And a ton of people are going there and looking at that. You know, it's kind of similar to that museum near Loch Lave Cave.
Lovelock Cave. Yeah.
Thank you. Don Monroe and M.K. Davis interviewed that lady. And she was pretty old. And she said she used to run that museum. She said, yeah, one day they brought them, you know, it was like a 9-foot tall thing. It was in this casket. And so they took it. But yeah, you know, yeah. So, you know, stuff like that happens a lot in these museums. And I think it's hidden right underneath our noses. Boy, what I wouldn't give to go to the back corridors of the Smithsonian. I was just saying
that. I was just about to say that. In my head, I was thinking, what's underneath us in the Smithsonian? Yeah. They have actively, and I actually have I've had a conversation with, you know, Tyler and Aaron from Journey to Truth. By the way, I'm on their show tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Right after this show, you guys go over to Journey to Truth conference podcast.
By the way, that was a good show. I watched that show you did with him over the mountains. That was good.
Oh,
I wasn't able to get on when you guys doing live, but I caught the taping of it. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Tyler was on Space.radio with me. Yeah. We talked about the Cahokia Mounds. Speaking of giants, actually, in the Smithsonian. So, yeah, tonight we're going to have a conversation about that as well. Some of these giants and things like that. So, the Smithsonian is actively. I mean, they can prove that the Smithsonian has been doing this on purpose to cover up our history. They've been taking our artifacts that would actually explain our real history and hiding them. They've been covering this up for 100 years. Just about. So, yeah, a long time. Anytime that there's anything that could be uncovered, they actively go and squash it and they hide it. So yeah, and it's watching shows like this and watching going on social media. There's so many different platforms where we can, you know, people really do some deep digging into some of these topics with the old world fairs and the human resets and the mud floods and all that. I used to kind of giggle at the mud flood. Now I kind of believe it. You know, it's there's just a lot of stuff that
mud flood. You mean is it like the Great Flood?
I guess it's the Great Flood. I don't know if it's separate from the Great Flood or there's a mud flood.
Like that video separate? I sent you that I've only put out on Patreon, like that video.
Yeah.
Where I show the craters. That one.
Yeah, that's right.
That's real scientifically provable that Noah's flood, quote unquote, that did happen. But every culture has a major flood story. But if you look that up 9,800 years ago, you can trace that back. We had 3 objects that came in here that were part of that titular meteor shower. But they came in here and they hit in 3 places. And it created, this is what we're talking about here. This great flood is how did the ice age end? How it ended.
Ooh.
Those things came in. Those meteors came in and hit the ice shelves. And, immediately you realize those things come in and hit over like 3,000 degrees. And like the one of the Hiawatha ice shelf of Greenland, they've actually found the holes. People always say, where are the holes? They found them. With all this new technology. And what you've got there is a crater that shows an object between 1.6 miles and 2 miles wide came and hit. And when it impacted, it created a crater that went, 2 miles deep and 15 miles wide. Wow. So when it hit, it threw that ice up, that heat, it threw that ice up. And you have another one that hit Ontario, another one that hit Saginaw Bay, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is connected to Lake Huron. They found all 3 of those. And when the one hit Lake Huron, it blew up, and some of those craters created what's called the Carolina Bays, and also that Raisin Bay, that water basin in Nebraska also. So those aren't actually asteroid or meteor hits. That's that ice, and that created another great flood. So those are those holes. Very interesting. Science is showing us a lot of stuff now, but that was 9,800 years ago, the end of the ice age.
Wow. Well, these little alien bodies, the alleged alien bodies, they're supposed to be 1,000 years old, Barry. Now, why exactly?
And that's what somebody said, but where's the verification on that, on testing? You know what I mean?
Don't they do like carbon dating or some kind of
they've been carbon dated. It's just people just say that that's what it was. It's very holy. And now let's go back to the fact that this could be fetal parts put together. Let's go back to that, because I think that's very, with the thing we've got with child trafficking right now is so bad anyway. It's not just a new thing. So going back to these different, like the one that was connected to Greer. Sorry, everyone's getting mad at me for this, but you can look that up. Everybody can look that up themselves and see about that little thing. It's got the long head. It looks like it would be an alien, but it wasn't. Okay, it was some type of fetal parts put together, and that's what that may be. That's what your data's kind of saying that, and you would pick up organic still, right?
I would. Yes.
And that I don't know. Sorry, I'm talking too much, but it's just I think it's very valid.
It's all relevant, though. It's very relevant, and I'm trying to figure out like why does it have? It looks like it has plaster over it, almost like one of those Pompeii people that were they got frozen in time, like rocks. Whenever the volcano blasted or whatever happened to them, they turned to stone basically, and that's kind of what this looks like.
Hey, you know what? Since you're a Highlander fan, I'm just going to throw this out real quick. On Highlander, they said that the series that happened because there were 2 immortals fighting on holy ground. That's what caused that eruption. Anyway, sorry, just had to throw the geek thing on you. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. It does. It looks. I mean, I don't want to just crush everybody by saying like everybody's saying Barry's crapping on the artifacts. It's not that. It's just I don't fully buy it. And all the stuff that's coming up right now in the media right now, all this alien stuff is coming up because it's the in thing. It's the happening thing right now. The fake alien invasion, all this stuff is just, that's the happening thing. And it's unregulated. And it's a shame because we're not acknowledging how this is really a conscious event also. You're a contactee, and what happened to you was as much consciousness as it was physicality, right? And for me, Jessica, I can accept that for a long time. I was like, no, I'm a physical experiencer. And I kept disqualifying all the things that had happened to me, especially when I was younger, that were kind of astral-like or dream-like, because it's not the same as being able to touch things and getting sick and being there physically. It's different. Like even when I died, it's just different. So I wanted to disqualify, and I wasn't acknowledging the amount that is conscious wise and why it comes with the creator. Some of these things with the God force, some of these beings come with awareness. Some of them come. Those of us that are not having negative encounters are being hit with this directed energy weapons.
Yeah.
You know, so stuff like this worries me because it's just it's leading people down rabbit holes and deceiving people when we've got real corpses here somewhere, real DNA tests that none of us are seeing. They're messing around showing us a TikTok. You know, I mean, that's great to see that UFO, but man, we've got right now, you and I both have high resolution cameras in our hands. Everybody does. And all those people on planes, you mean to tell me the best they could do is show us the TikTok?
Yeah, I know. And well, it's almost like it's an insult to our intelligence with all of this too, especially with all of us contactees. I mean, they just like what I say, I question. Okay, so if our government, which I have remote viewed those breeding programs and things, our government is fully aware, and these agencies, they're fully aware that these cryptids exist, in my opinion. Okay, and this is my opinion. There's data that behind that, and it is remote viewing data. So take it with that, you know, with a grain of salt. But it's data. I stand behind my data. Okay. And I'm out here and I will tell you when I feel something's off, even when I'm getting this data, and it's separate for interpretation too, by the way. Okay. To be analyzed. So if they have knowledge of like Dogman and Bigfoot, they could just walk some out on a stage. Like I've said a million times, like just walk them out, show us that they're real. You know, they work with aliens. They work with people who are non-human or, you know, of extraterrestrial origin that look like humans. March them out on stage, be like, hey, we're here. Why are they showing us this? Whatever I can't do. Where's my finger? Oh, wait, there it is.
Hey, I need you to do something. I need you to do something for me. I'm not going to stop us, right? Art. And I'm going to reverse. I'm going to reverse right now. Like Knight Rider, you can reverse like at 60 miles an hour.
Back it up.
And push me off that cliff, will you? You never told us what your source had said. I'm very interested.
Oh, well, it's just basically that. It's okay, so there's not so much like information. It was more of like theoreticals, right? You know what I mean? There's a lot of theoreticals, like because I'm like, why would they not just show us a real alien? Why does it have to be something like this? Why would they put a fake, like if this is fake and this is not real, this is what if this is not real, why would they show us something that was fake instead of getting us a real alien artifact? Okay. And it's almost like, well, because they want to instill doubt in our minds. Okay. Because they are going to release real stuff, and they probably have released real stuff, but they want us to all be confused because it's a control thing. Okay. We are controlled. Okay. Not all of us. Some of us are wild at heart and wild and free, you know? But not everybody. The majority of people, but the narrative must be controlled. And this is a good way. If this is not real, and if they are, it is, you know, the world is a stage, right? How many times have I heard that the past couple of years? The world is a stage. And I've watched officials lying under oath in Congress, before Congress. How many times have you seen people lying before Congress? I mean, it's become pretty rampant here in America, and I can only assume Mexico is going to be the same way. So I'm just putting that out there. Not everybody's honest. Okay.
Yeah, the first time I was forced to deal with politicians aren't honest, I must have, like, I lived in some sort of bubble. Just kidding.
Oh my God.
But it was when you know, I did not have sexual relations with that old man. And you know, I read micro expressions in the face, which are hot and only they're like millisecond only. Okay. And only politicians and well-trained actors can sometimes control some of them, but they can't control all of them. The hot spots.
Yeah.
And his face was completely off. His hot spots showed amazement, which showed me this, like, man, I'm a perv. I was getting my groove on. Now I got to explain it to y'all and lie to y'all. That's the look on his face he had. And he caught it real quick, though. Right. I was like, oh, no, he's lying. And when he got exposed, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
But stuff like this is, we live in such a concocted world, Jessica. It's a trip.
That's right. We do.
And things like this, if this turns out to be fake, it's a great way to discourage us going into a type 1 civilization. Discourage the other things about contact. And like you said, the real things that they have that they're not showing us. These real bodies. We're still tripping on the thing that was the gray with the 6 fingers, the palindacty.
Yeah.
If that was real or not. And I think it was. At first I thought it was fake due to some of my experiences, but later I've come to find out probably not.
Yeah. I mean, we're spinning our wheels right here trying to decide if this little statue looking thing is real. And I've got some data out of it, but like there's real aliens out there that are alive right now. Okay.
Hey,
so
what'd your whistleblower think it was? What'd your whistleblower think it was?
Potentially what I said in the beginning of the show, potentially body parts, potentially. So of humans. From animals too, potentially.
From grave robbers.
I don't know that. Well, when I had that in my data, and I right before the show, I was like, you know what? I need to call around and ask some people who might know about some of this stuff, because I didn't want to come on this show tonight and just put all this information out there with like not. I mean, I'm just a channel for the information, and I don't, I like having discussions about this and like putting the data out there. But it was just so all over the place. The data was so contradictory in some ways, and it can be interpreted in so many different ways. So I just wanted another opinion or two before I went live tonight.
That's wise. That's wise.
Recording the show. Yeah. I don't want to just put stuff out there like, oh, yeah, it's from Inner Earth, because I didn't feel that. Once I found out what the target was, I was like, something just seemed off to me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And it becomes another question. Is who actually put that together and constructed it? I doubt it's Jamie Masson or whatever his name is. Who actually put that together? And is that where you're picking up Inner Earth connection, or is it just because there was buried bodies? That could do it too. That's Inner Earth too. But you know what I'm saying? About all seriousness, you know what I mean? These are all things just worthy. The counterintelligence that's behind all this, and it would even do that, and basically rob a grave in such a way. Children again, it's quite frightful, and the amount of disinformation, it's just endless. Like stuff like, for example, I'm a little disappointed. What about the DNA evidence that Paul Endes has? We didn't really hear anything more about that. What are they going to do with that? Is that just going to be suppressed? I'm not criticizing him, but I'm saying that the work at the powers that be, they're so good at snuffing everything out. Scientifically, stuff that's going to rock the boat, it gets snuffed out. It's like that.
There's one word for that, Barry. Control. Okay, control. So just keep that Janet in the back of your head.
About that? Control by Janet Jackson. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. I did. When I was in high school, my dance team, we did a tap dance to that song. Imagine tap dancing to that song. It was weird. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it was Control back in the day. Good song though. But yeah, she was telling us something. Everything's about control. So, but now we're all grown up. I believe that's in that song. And we're all grown up. Some of us are grown, and we can make our own assumptions and look at this thing critically. Okay, look at this topic critically, and because we have so much stuff that's like thrown at us that's so questionable, and those of us that are, especially the UFO community, they are, biting at the bit, like chomping away at the bit to get information and to have full disclosure. Full disclosure now, that's a thing. Okay, a lot of us out here would really like to have disclosure, even though in the back of our minds, I think we're worried it's not going to happen with as far as governments go, and especially if they're rolling out stuff that's like ancient bodies from 1,000 years ago. Well, why don't you show us some like the Roswell bodies? Show us something that you took to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. These crash retrievals that these whistleblowers are talking about.
Yeah, show us some of those ships landing and taking off. more than what
Yeah.
George Minsky had showed. You know, it's
Yeah. Sorry, there's an alarm going off right outside my room right now, like a super loud alarm.
Oh, that's all right. You know,
I hope y'all can't hear
a
it.
different position. Like the light keeps coming up down here, so it looks like I'm probably lit up and then dark, lit up and dark, and like I'm, you know, some weird altered dimension or something.
No, you look. It's disco night. It's disco night. I got the horns. You got the lighting. Yeah.
So Saturday night fever, isn't it? It's only Thursday. Anyway.
Yeah, but, it's almost like stuff to like throw us off our train of thoughts. Because I mean, I'm in the flow, like thinking about all this stuff. Like really, we are. And this is an interesting remote viewing show, Barry, because we're looking into this stuff critically, like not just like I'm not going by this data being like the end all be all here. Because I needed, it was contradictory and I needed to go with my gut. I honestly did not get that much data out of this target. And so, and Barry, you know, just as well as I do, when I don't get a lot of data, there's something there. There's a red flag.
Something weird. Yeah.
There's a red flag.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, but you know, it, in one way, I think that it's good because it shows a fake or a flaw, or, you know what I mean? The data actually brings that out and shows something that either isn't real or is deceptive. I think that's very, very important. And if I didn't ask already, what do you think, let's call this future viewing. What do you think is going to happen ultimately with this situation and these corpses and the whole thing?
Okay.
What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I don't know if they'll ever be proven 100% to be fake, but I do believe that and this is my opinion, what I think is that the governments across the world, let's just say, especially in the United States, Mexico, obviously, they're getting us ready for something. There's that slow rollout, like it was in my data. That was in my data consistently on all three of these targets, a slow rollout. What I think is that perhaps they're mixing in stuff that's contrived with stuff that's real, and it's keeping us very confused and on a weird chase, like we're chasing our tail all over the place here, because we're having, like, I'm not going to say infighting, but we're having a lot of debates on stuff that looks potentially fake, but we just can't put our finger on it, like something's off, you know. And so that's what they want. It's like whoever they are, they want us to keep digging in the wrong places and looking over here when they got stuff going on over here. And those of us who know, those of us who have seen extraterrestrials, or what I perceive to be an extraterrestrial, I've seen 3 of them, okay, on 2 different occasions. And this thing, I just feel like they could show us real aliens. We don't have to see something that's fake from 1,000 years ago, or real, even if it is real. Okay, so it's real. Great. Where are the giants too? Show us some giants. I want to see some giants.
Interesting. As you were talking, I started picking something up. That's very interesting, is that when thinking about who or where that actually could have been put together, very simple for them to put something like that together in one of these underground labs we've been talking about.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, very easy. And that would also kind of deal with the inner earth thing you're getting to inside or down under anyway. You know, very not good. I mean, it's just so many different outlets for the darkness to manifest BS into all this that it just pretty much sucks.
Yes. Well, obviously they're getting us ready for something. Okay. And Barry, I know that we've had this conversation where, you know, we're putting it out in the collective consciousness, like, oh, the fake alien invasion and all that stuff. I don't even know if that's going to happen. I think that there are real aliens here at this moment on this earth. I do believe they're here, and working with our governments and stuff. So, I mean,
you're not much younger than me. And how long have you been hearing all this stuff, these scenarios, these people talking that, and none of it ever happens, does it? None of it happens. These predictions that they do. And right now, I've told you before, since childhood, I have seen something that was maybe a changed timeline, which is these ships. And people say, do you think they're holographic? I don't know. But they look like Legion ships showing up over cities. Probably about 20, 25 major cities for just like 2 minutes. And we hear the sound and woo, 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 and it just does something vibrationally, and it shows we're not alone. Then they're gone before the attack can happen or anything. But now with this whole fake and alien deal, they've almost diverted that timeline for what I've saw. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's very puzzle. It's disheartening is what it is.
It is.
So it's, because sometimes, when I see things that are future, you don't know if it's going to happen or not, and I used to get frustrated because when I asked the beings I was in communication with, what's going to happen in the future? And they wouldn't tell me. And they'd show me the past, but not the future, because I don't think they know any more than we do, because there's different timelines, you know?
And there are people that are actually changing our timelines actively in a negative way. And so there's other people who are actively trying to change on an energetic in the positive way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately they say that we can put ourselves on a higher timeline by being high vibrational and not living in fear and, dealing with our traumas so that we can be higher vibrational frequencies in this earth. Okay. And so my advice, if I were to give advice to anybody tonight, it would be to become the best version of yourself right now at this very moment, and get out, have some fun, go exercise, make sure your family is well stocked up with essentials, with food, whatever you need to protect yourselves. Okay. And because we're in for a wild ride, we are living in a extremely odd time. And, but I think that a lot of us came here for this very moment in time. And it is to help people not be in fear. Okay. And to see through all these manipulations. Okay. And the things, and I'm not saying but there is some manipulation of this, whether these things are real or not. There's a lot of manipulation with the public.
Tons.
And so
Everything.
I'm here and you're here, Barry. We're going to counterbalance that a little bit to, just let people know I personally have experienced it. And I know people who watch my shows, and I hopefully have some new viewers tonight. And you guys please subscribe to my channel. Okay. And to Barry's channels too. And we're here to give our experiences as in my reality, I've seen ETs. Okay. And I know they're real on this plane right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't need a 1,000-year-old statue looking thing to tell me the aliens are real, but that's just my reality.
And that's the real disclosure that's happening, is that the amount of contact is going up. I always used to say, I thought that maybe like between 70 and 80% of our population had contact. But now with the platform I've been on talking, I think it's going up, 85 and going up, and that's changing things. Everything is fine. You can make fun of people like you and I. I'm the space guy. You're the Bigfoot hunter, and you make fun of us till something happens. Your butt's out in the wilderness and you see one of those things and you're never the same. Or you're out somewhere trying to do a CE5 and one of these ships really comes up and suddenly you're missing like 5 hours of your life. Oh.
Yeah. It can be very dangerous.
Or just you inadvertently see a UFO and you're missing time. Or you wake up and you've got extraterrestrials around your bed. Like, I think that happened to you, didn't it?
That happened to me. Yeah. From going Bigfooting. Okay. And then I started studying up on alien abductions because I had ET contact in the field the first time I ever went Bigfooting. Okay. So God threw me in the mix, trial by fire, the first time I ever went Bigfooting. And I'm here right now because of that. Okay. And so I know that was part of my path and I was supposed to experience all that so that I could come here to talk about it today. And we can talk about these little statuesque aliens that were rolled out in Mexico this week. Now, I don't know, Barry. I think it's so important what we're doing right now, because I think that we are the disclosure. A lot of, and it's not just us, it's everybody who's had experiences that come on our shows, that talk about it, that have their own things going on, and the people speaking at conferences. And
that's important. Those are really a great place to meet people.
Yes.
And I think that the type of conferences are starting to change from these 4 or 5 people that just seem to rule the circuit as to normal people like you and I talking, and that's what resonates, because oftentimes the people out in the groups, the community, the attendees have had more experiences than me, or probably should be up there talking, always mediums and psychics, contactees out there. It's a great vibe a lot of the time,
Yeah.
And, something real quick I just want to throw in there. All right. And real quick, I know we're running out of time. I had a client and I'd take them down, and this client I did a type of regression with, but it was involuntary in terms that when they were a child, they were at least young. They were with a Cub Scout, Girl Scout type of outing thing. All right. And when they're sleeping, like in their tent, just outside of their tent, kind of fell asleep. People, there's a couple of them still talking around the fire. They see this ship come up, this triangle come up, and then they're actually on board this thing. And this thing took up more than half their group, and we're running them through some type of experimentation. And it was a triangle. And when I showed them later on, when I merged them, I showed them a TR-3B. They said, look quite a bit like that. And, you know, it's just, and the fact that this ship coming up on them put the other people to sleep as well. And I've heard your team describe something like that.
I did.
And that, you know,
yeah.
And so, and this individual is more aware and is able to stay somewhat lucid. When those lucid dreamers, they didn't go totally under, you know? So it's very interesting, and stuff like that happening, you know, and they had described during this, there being military people watching it. They weren't doing the experiment, but they were in there observing and a part of it. You know, that pretty much just sucks, man. It gives me much faith and much pride in all of you with the testicular fortitude to go out into the forest and look for anything when you got stuff like that going on. Sorry, I just get carried away.
I have fun out in the woods, though. You know, it's okay. I mean, I'm still here, you know, and I have a good time out there, and I know the dangers. I know. I mean, and it's not just out in the woods. That stuff follows you home. Like I had the ETs in my home. Okay, so it's just a part. It's just a part of my life. I'm not scared of it.
You know, I heard you talking about something that you've never told me before. I was a little bit shocked.
What's that?
It was you said that you had reviewed some target, and you started getting text messages or calls from the target.
Oh my God, you heard that? Yeah, that was yesterday.
You never told me about that. That's a trip.
Well, it's something I don't like talking about because it was actually kind of scary. Yeah. I was learning with my team. I was learning, I think it was ERV or HRV. Okay. It was a different mode of remote viewing where you're not actually writing things down. You're more in a trance state, kind of not trance, but sleeping. You're like deep theta basically. And you got to like lay down to do it and all that stuff. Like basically, I mean, I was snoring half the day. Okay. Cause I kept falling asleep, but, you know, this stuff, just a little inside, but yeah, I was having to learn how to protect myself in the ethers a little better. And I don't think I had perfected it yet that day, but I was working on it. And, after we got done for that day of that training, I checked my phone and I was getting messages, and they were like kind of, it was weird because it wasn't from any numbers or anything. It was just weird. It was like something was communicating with me through my phone and wrote some weird messages. My brain has kind of blocked it out a little bit, so I can't remember exactly what it said. But it was something where I knew that I had to go back in and figure out how to protect myself a little better after that. So, but things like that happen so that you know how to protect yourself in the future. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, lots of weird stuff happens when you are doing things like remote viewing and dealing with energies like that. So it's a spiritual battle too. Okay. So like we're not just living in the 3D, we're living in different dimensions all at the same time. Okay. So just be aware.
It was so interesting to hear you say that. I'll tell you why. Because
Why?
I try to walk the path of power, and all these coincidences, these omens happen. And, you know, I just made a video I'm about to release on Patreon that is called The Gray Overlay, that I think I've talked about here on before. The masseuses that say they have this gray, that they've seen grays coming out of people.
Oh, yeah.
And it was connected to the cell phones that were turned off.
Yes.
in the studio. And the cell phones are making this sound that like pulled the gray back in, this holographic projection. And it seemed like the cell phone was connecting it. And when you start looking at things like that experiment that was done with the blue light mice, have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what that did? That's strictly when they exposed that blue light, what it did, it triggered them into a state of depression. It made depressed mice angry and depressed. And
that's what cell phones are doing.
Yeah.
It's hard to be high vibe when you're on your cell phone all day, but You know, some of us power through. Just kidding.
You know, I was standing with a friend at the art museum, and they want to bet $10. They bet you $10 that you can't find two people that walks by that isn't on their phone or looking down at their phone, and kids under 10 don't count. And we sat there. There was one guy walked by, and he walks by, and I was like, "Homie, there you go, right there." And what happens? Right when this guy is right almost vertical to me, he stops, takes his hand off his girlfriend, and grabs his phone. I was like, "Oh man!"
Oh, almost. You almost had it.
It's messing up our social interactions. You know what I mean? That's what it's doing. The technology is good, but it's messing up our social interaction. If you were a teacher, like I did some teaching, you know, it's nothing like getting up there and getting on the blackboard, getting a little chalk on you. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing than a little dust on you. Anyway, sorry.
Well, our phones are a control device as well. Okay. It's a tracking device and a control device. So everything is about control. Everything is about control right now. So as long as we're aware of that, and just being aware is the first step to try to protect yourself, you know, and become uncontrollable. I'm not controllable. I try not to be. Yeah, I'm kind of out here doing my own thing.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Up, you know, you're covering things that go so much beyond just what you and I do. I mean, you're covering all sorts of stuff. That's really that's important, and it's not cookie cutter. Nothing you're doing is cookie cutter. And I don't get in trouble, but sometimes the cryptid community is a little repetitive.
Oh, you're telling me?
Yeah.
You're telling me. I know. Trust me, I know. Hey, that show yesterday was really cool though. I looked into those goggles that let you see into different dimensions. They're like night vision goggles.
I only came in on the last 15 minutes of that, so I have to go back and look at it. I found it interesting because I started thinking about the chronovisors. That's something they've kind of, you know, made off of that, or kind of
it's different.
Offshoot of that, an offshoot.
Yeah, it's actually different. So this stuff is called dicyanine, I think is the way you pronounce it. Dicyanine dye goggles. And it's something that the military started using. A scientist came up with that in the 1920s, put it on some glass, and saw that he could see at night. It was like night vision, basically. So the military started using it. They made some of these dicyanine dye goggles, okay, and gave them some of the guys in the helicopters in Vietnam, and they put them on, and it was like a red lights, I guess. Like what they thought they saw were demons, and they were flying. They were winged demons, and they were all over the place, all over the battlefield, where they were out there fighting. And so some of the men actually went mad, literally went crazy, and were shooting at the other helicopters and shooting all around because they were actually seeing demons that the normal eye couldn't see.
See, I start picking stuff up. That's crazy. They're telling me now that I should say that that is what was the basis for Roddy Piper's movie. They Live.
That was in the show. Oh my God, Barry, that was in my show.
Great movie, man. He put all those things. Oh, he walked around tripped out, man.
I brought that up yesterday. I actually showed pictures of Roddy Piper. Okay, and with his glasses, because that's basically what they are, because they could see the true essence of what was going on when you put those glasses on. I also said I was going to put my PO box in the description box. If anybody wanted to send me a pair, but I don't think that you can get the actual military grade. You can't just buy those. I don't think. That
sounds like a lot better than the ones I ordered in the back of the comic books when I was a kid.
Yeah,
those didn't work. I couldn't see any women naked or anything. It didn't work at all.
I know. Oh my gosh.
It was a waste of like $4, you know.
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, listen, we're not going to be deceived.
Should have got some sea monkeys, you know, anyway.
I love sea monkeys, but listen, we don't need those stinking glasses to see what's really out there. We're able to see it. I've got this eye right here, right in the middle of my forehead. I got my third eye. And I think that's important for everybody. Start tapping into your intuition. Go with your gut. If something feels off, like I went with my gut today, and last night something just felt off. Okay, once I figured out what these targets were, it felt a little bit off to me, and so I went with my gut, and I did a little more digging and some more research, and so voila, you have the show for today, for tonight, and this has been a great show, Barry.
Thanks.
Just digging into stuff. Thank you for coming on with me tonight. I appreciate
I think
you.
you did a great job, and I love how open you are about it, and really keeping it 100. That's truth. That's real. You know what I mean? Because it's and it shows also deception. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm sure the audience does too. Haven't seen the comments, but I'm sure they're down.
And by that, Barry means deception with the alien bodies, not me. Okay.
What?
It's with the alien bodies. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. That's what the bodies themselves being deception. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is the way I kind of felt too. And I wasn't getting anything off of it. So I was glad to hear you say it. I don't want to say things everybody gets mad. Oh, it's real. It's real. Because I didn't get the great vibes off the Las Vegas thing everybody else did. But I didn't think it was necessarily fake. But I didn't get quite. It just felt too contrived.
Well, that's what they're doing is like they're taking real events and they're throwing in fake stuff with it. Even that lady on the airplane said that MFR is not real. I don't think that was even right. I think that was an act personally, but that's just my opinion. I haven't remote viewed it or anything, but I think that they're taking real stuff and they're throwing in fake stuff and they're confusing the heck out of all of us. And so this is the time where we cannot depend on anyone but ourselves and our friends to figure this stuff out. Okay. Because we're not going to be told the truth probably.
Go for the decode, the decoys.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, listen, Barry, I am live with Tyler and Aaron right now over at Journey to Truth podcast. So let's go ahead and say goodnight to our guests. And everybody head over to Journey to Truth podcast on YouTube and Rumble right now. Okay. So Barry, thank you so much again. If you please come back and hang out with me soon. You usually do. We'll hit some more of these fun targets. Okay.
Please do. And everybody, I'll be in Las Vegas, November 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Stairway to the Stars conference. Come through if you can.
Oh, heck yeah. And Barry, tell everybody about your YouTube and your Patreon too.
Oh, yeah. I'm on Patreon under Barry Littleton and on YouTube under Barry Littleton, and no cool names or anything. Please subscribe. And if you get on there, please look at the playlist. It brings up most videos that won't show up otherwise. So.
Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great show. And everybody go subscribe over to Barry Littleton's YouTube channel and Patreon. And if you're new here to my channel, please subscribe, like the video, y'all share this out. And it really helps grow the channel. And right now I love putting these shows out there. I think we're doing some good work here together, Barry. So
thank you.
We have more work to do.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Well, you guys, please come hang out with me this weekend on Spaced Out Radio. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. I will see y'all there. Otherwise, y'all have a good night. Stay safe out there. Bye, Barry.